Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest information that we got on what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your day. Of course, the big topic in today's forecast is going to be what the leftovers, the remnants of Francine is going to do to our weather for our Thursday into our Thursday night. So we're going to speak pretty heavy on that. We'll talk about a tornado risk. We'll speak on a flash flooding threat and how we'll continue just to have some gusty winds all day in certain areas, especially the state of Mississippi, which we're seeing this morning. And I'm sure we're still seeing a lot of gusty winds across Louisiana this morning also. So definitely let me know what you saw yesterday afternoon, evening, overnight. Hope you guys are doing well in Louisiana and even Mississippi and surrounding states this morning. I didn't hear too much about any kind of big tornado risk yesterday. We didn't see a whole lot of tornado warnings. I don't think last night into the overnight hours. I woke up, was kind of searching through my social media feed, seeing, what everybody saw last night. Because you guys know me, I go to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I wake up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and didn't see a whole lot. I saw some pretty intense footage of the eye wall of Francine as it made landfall yesterday evening, but nothing on tornadoes really. So that's the good news. But definitely let me know how you're doing down there. Of course, I'm not expecting you to stop what you're doing just to update Mitch, but definitely praying for you folks and thinking about y'all this morning. We're going to give you a full update on the tropics outside of Francine. Also, there's a couple areas we're watching. Nothing concerning whatsoever, but it is worth talking about because we are still in peak hurricane season. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I just want to thank y'all. I haven't done this in a while. Just thank you for the support. We covered Francine. We broke that down. Just had some very steady growth on the channel. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate y'all. And I just want to say welcome to any new subscribers. If you're new to my channel, hopefully you like it. And definitely a different kind of family-like atmosphere, more of a personal feel on this channel. So welcome. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So I'm going to circle a couple areas on the map. Of course, this big blob of color over here, and the yellow is probably not the best color to use, but we're just going to roll with it. That is sort of the remnants of the leftovers of Francine. Of course, the actual center of what's left over of Francine is right over southern sections of Mississippi this morning. But of course, with land interaction, this thing does not look impressive on satellite anymore. But it definitely is, it has a very broad moist field, meaning it's raining because of Francine in a pretty large area of the south. So we got that. We're watching just unsettled weather off the East Coast, but this is nothing we're really talking about right now. There's still some pockets of energy that are still technically, as of right now, dubbed areas of interest, but we're not expecting this to develop. And then there's this thing right out here. This will most likely become Gordon today. So it'll kind of take a name, but as of right now, we're not thinking that this is going to affect anybody. There is some model guidance that shows, for example, let's recircle this. There is some model guidance that has this kind of going in this direction, so it gets a little bit closer to the Caribbean islands, the Lesser Antilles, Greater Antilles, but most model guidance has this kind of going like this. And some model guidance has this strengthening into a big time hurricane and just kind of turning north and drifting out here in the North Atlantic. Some don't. And that has been the common theme over the last month or so. The main development region, which is out here, model guidance has flip-flopped like crazy. It does not know what it wants to do out there whatsoever. It's been a very weird hurricane season. Certainly has not been hyperactive. But one thing we'll say is every storm that has formed that's got dubbed the name has hit land. It's pretty wild to think about. If you think about it, it really has. I mean, what Alberto, or what was the first one, hit land even though it was a weaker storm. We know what Beryl did. Chris technically formed like in 24 hours and then rammed into Mexico. And then Debbie, we know what Debbie did. And then Ernesto made a direct landfall somehow right over Bermuda and then impacted Atlantic Canada. And then we had Francine, which obviously made a landfall yesterday evening. So it's pretty wild to think about that pretty much every storm that's formed has hit land. I think that this one's going to break that streak, though. So that's what's going on out here in the Atlantic. We'll get all this back off your screen and we'll keep on going here. The actual latest from the National Hurricane Center per the 5 a.m. update, Francine now down to a tropical storm. Of course, with the land interaction moving northeast at 12 miles per hour, I expect that to start to move more so north. Now, we need to watch this area, and I didn't circle it on the map, but there is a 30% chance of some sort of low pressure, and they're saying a non-tropical area of low pressure, which I don't know. We'll see what happens. I really think that this could gain some sort of tropical characteristics, but there's a 30% chance of this area that I got the cursor over to develop into a depression or a named storm sometime over the next few days. And if this is going to happen, it's going to happen early next week. Now, model guidance is not as aggressive on this as it was yesterday, but we're watching this, and then we're watching these little areas out here, which we don't expect to develop. And then we got Tropical Depression 7, which, like I said, will likely become a tropical storm sometime over the next 24 hours and take the G name, which is Gordon. So, is there anything outside of that? Well, I would say this is the next system we want to watch that might take the H name, but outside of that, I'm not really seeing anything, but just a closer look. If you hear a meow, actually it's not Rocket, it's Stormy, my other cat down here right at my feet, and she likes to sing to me. It's funny, I got a cat that likes to sing to me. Her meow sounds like someone singing, and then I got a cat that likes to scream at me when it meows, and that's Rocket. And then I got a cat that likes to whistle at me, and that is Kylo, my black cat. So it's all funny how they have different meows. But anyways, enough about cats. Tropical, this will turn in most likely, like I said, into a tropical storm over the next 24 hours. You see the S symbol that stands for tropical storm. So Tropical Depression 7 is forecast to become a tropical storm. But as you can tell, it moves very slow, just kind of drifts out here quite literally. And I mean, it takes all the way from right now to 2 a.m. Tuesday to get all the way to right here. So we might be talking about this for a while, but it's not worth talking about a whole lot because it's not anything concerning as of right now. But we'll go over some of the latest model guidance and really focus in right off the coast of the southeast. So we'll start off for Sunday evening. A lot of tropical moisture right over the southeast. I know there's a lot of eyeballs on that for a college game day here in my local town, Columbia, South Carolina. The Gamecocks are playing LSU, and there's a lot of people wondering if it's going to rain Saturday, including me. But anyways, we'll keep this going here, and we'll get into Sunday. A lot of tropical moisture over areas of the southeast. We're getting into Sunday evening. You're not seeing anything. Then there's kind of the L popping up here, right? We're getting into Monday midday, and then we are getting into Tuesday morning, September the 17th. Develops a low pressure ride the last second and crashes it right into the North Carolina coastline. Not a high impact tropical system or subtropical system. Goes right into the North Carolina coastline, brings a slug of moisture with it, maybe some gusty winds, but nothing too concerning. And then, of course, it moves over land where it does not have an opportunity to continue to strengthen and just brings a slug of moisture into the upper southeast and then the mid-Atlantic, maybe even further north. We just got to figure that out. So that's the latest GFS on that, the latest Euro. We keep this going, same thing, just pushes a moisture into the southeast. We get into Monday morning, and there is, at this point, this kind of comes in faster in the GFS. So Monday morning, this is already pushing a big slug of moisture into the southeast, especially the Carolinas. Monday morning, we're waking up to a washout in the Carolinas. We still got to fine-tune that, so we're not sure if that's going to be the case. But then we start to get into Monday evening, Tuesday morning. I think it's going to be a rather wet, at least tail end of the weekend for the southeast, and especially next week. We're going to just have a rainy pattern. I mean, I keep this going all the way into like midway next week, this time next week, all the way into next weekend. We keep getting blobs of green showing up. Tells me we got a pretty wet pattern setting up, regardless if something tropical develops off the Carolinas, off the coast of the Carolinas. But this is rainfall between now and basically a week from today, September the 19th, the morning of. Several inches of rain expected across the Carolinas, all the way up to Virginia, a few inches of rain. So definitely much needed rain's coming. Believe it or not, I think my house has picked up a 1/4 inch of rain in almost 4 weeks. And, you know, we got so much rain back from Debbie that this has kind of snuck up on a lot of people in the Carolinas. But heck, my grass in my yard is starting to kind of dole out. Of course, you're getting deeper into September. You're losing the prime of the summer where your grass is green. If you guys didn't know, I'm a big yard junkie, And typically when I get into September in my head, I start to kind of not run the sprinklers as much and just kind of, in a way, let it go, still mow it. But I've only had to mow my grass like once in the last 3 weeks here in South Carolina. So it's been nice with that. But man, look at the North Carolina and Northeast South Carolina coastline, maybe up to over a half a foot of rain is possible. So we'll have to continue to watch this. Now the rest of the Atlantic, I will start this off for Sunday morning. There's our tropical depression. Could be a tropical storm, a Gordon. We'll keep all this going and we get all the way in early next week. I mean, we get into about midway next week. There's Gordon right here, what will soon to be Gordon. And look how it just kind of hangs out. And finally it gets picked up and it strengthens. But folks, not only does this turn north, it turns north like in the middle of the central North Atlantic. I mean, there's Bermuda. There's obviously the eastern U.S. I mean, it's almost closer to Europe and Africa when it turns than it is the U.S. So I really don't think we have anything to worry about with this. I would continue to watch if you're in Newfoundland with this storm. And of course, we're just going to continue to watch it regardless, but I'm not very concerned about this. If we look at the European ensemble guide, it's just between now and the next week. Not going to go out any further than that. There's that very small signal for a tropical system developing right here. And then here's the larger signal for what will soon to be Gordon. If you notice, there is a spread, okay? We got some members kind of making their way west, and we got a lot of members also turning north, and some abruptly turn northeast. So I don't think we have 100% idea of what's going to happen with this. So we need to continue to figure it out, monitor it, and figure out what it's going to do. But outside of that, guys, you know, there's not a whole lot to talk about in the tropics. Now that Francine has made landfall, you know, and by the way, Francine made landfall as a Category 2 hurricane. It strengthened to a 100-mile-per-hour hurricane right before landfall. So yeah. All right, so as far as what's going on right now, you know, I mentioned, didn't hear a whole lot about tornadoes, but here we are. We got a tornado warning in the panhandle of Florida now. So these feeder bands from the southeast side, this low pressure of Francine, continue to feed right into the panhandle of Florida. So please be aware this morning in Florida of a tornado threat. Shield of rain trying to make it into South Carolina, but it's hitting dry air, so it's not fully pushing in, but Georgia's definitely getting a lot of rain. Alabama, Mississippi's getting gusty winds and rain. Flash flood warnings up. This rain's even slinging into Arkansas. We got this little spin up here in Quebec that's going to make it into Maine, could bring some rain. We got a big old land cyclone over areas of the northern Rockies that's bringing its own cold air, a little bit of snow in the higher elevations of Rockies. And this is also going to bring the dynamics for a severe weather threat across eastern Montana today, which we'll zoom into when we get to that portion of the video. You know, the Northeast pretty quiet, the Southwest pretty quiet, and the middle of the country is pretty quiet this morning. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Of course, we still got those, make sure this is the right one. Yes, the 12th. We still got these tropical storm warnings up right here for southern Mississippi, Alabama, the entire state of Mississippi, areas of Georgia, have flood watches. I mean, western Tennessee, areas of Arkansas, flood watches up. We got wind advisories also for the breezy conditions from Francine. We got dense fog advisories up here in the Delmarva. Red flag warnings up here and the high plains. And this is because of this low that's digging down and kicking up a lot of high winds across the high plains. So fire danger will be there with the red flag warnings. We got wind advisories even there. So this is that time of the year where the troughs start digging down. We got a lot of high winds with it. We even got winter weather advisory. So you know it's the changing of seasons now, which I love to hear. So soon we'll be starting to enter that secondary severe weather season. You know, so I mean, sooner than you know, it'll come up on us fast, especially as we're getting into October and November across the Southeast. But anyways, excessive rainfall outlook. There's a moderate risk for today now for the central and northern areas of Alabama. That means there's a 40% chance in this red area of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given location. And then you see the slight risk area in Montana and down here for the mid and deep south. That means there's at least a 15% chance of flash flood guidance meeting, of rainfall meeting flash flood guidance. The Storm Prediction Center outlook, slight risk from Birmingham down to Dothan to Tallahassee, Pensacola. This is for the ongoing tornado risk that will continue throughout the afternoon and evening. There's a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location in this yellow area. And then we got a slight risk up here for the high plains. So there's the tornado risk, 2% risk of a tornado up here in areas of Montana, North Dakota, and a very small section of Wyoming. 5% risk in this brown area of a tornado. And then the 2% risk surrounding that. Wind threat, pretty low wind threat as far as damaging winds in this area. But up here, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in the given location. And then the hail threat, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. So all hazards are possible up here, just a kind of a small all hazards mode, if you will. Let's talk about the southeast first. Let's take a look at it as a whole. Let me slow down, be able to speak right. And there's our low, the leftovers of Francine. This will continue to chug northward across Mississippi. But these are the bands you want to watch out for right here. And we'll take a closer look here in a second. These banding features that will continue to pivot through this area. Wherever they sort of underlap the best low-level flow, which will be probably more so right into here. That's when as we get into this afternoon, that's where your highest tornado threat's going to be. So you keep this going. And rain, just kind of shower activity overspread northern Georgia, good portion of the southeast. But once you get down here to like southeast Georgia, southwest Georgia, southeast Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, this is when you're going to get these storms that are capable of producing tornadoes. And even into this evening, look at this band setting up over northern Alabama, Birmingham, up the Huntsville, Florence. You guys got to watch out for that later this evening. So, and then finally all this begins to dissipate. But, a closer look at the deep south, right? Keep on going. Even this morning, folks, you're getting that tornado warning right here in the panhandle of Florida this morning. But you see these banding features. All these will have the opportunity to produce a tornado. That don't mean they will, but you see these kind of splotches of yellow and orange and red, even pink. These are where you have intense thunderstorms with this tropical system. And this is most likely where you'll see the threat of tornadoes. And this will continue through about this afternoon. Might lessen up, and then we'll have this other band that potentially forms from like maybe Montgomery up to Birmingham to Florence to Huntsville, Alabama. And this will be more so for like later this evening. And I think there'll be a tornado threat with these storms also. And this will continue all the way up to the Cumberland Plateau, and then it'll weaken as we're getting into tomorrow morning. And this is brought to you by Francine's low-level jets. So we keep this in motion, and these are winds in the low levels of the atmosphere, about a mile up, about 6,000 feet up. So we continue to move this forward, and your best low-level flow is, as we're getting into this afternoon, right up here in central to northern Alabama. So you got a 50 to 60 knot low-level jet, very moist environment, plenty of spin in the atmosphere, plenty of flow in the atmosphere because quite literally it's being driven by a tropical system. So this is going to drive some of these storms to be capable of producing a tornado. So we'll just have to watch that. Please be weather aware in Alabama. These tend to spin up really fast and almost out of nowhere. So if you get under a tornado warning, take it serious. Typically, these tropical tornadoes are very low hanging. They almost look like just a lowered cloud, and it can happen fast. They're normally not very strong, but they can still pack one heck of a punch. So the updraft Felicity swath, there's that pocket for this evening I want to watch out for in northern Alabama, central and northern Alabama, where you have this blue and green, even splotches of yellow. This tells us where there's some rotation with some of these updrafts. And of course, this morning into this afternoon for southern Alabama and the panhandle of Florida, continue to be weather aware. And then the rainfall, just between now and the next 24 hours, several more inches of rain is possible in Mississippi. A lot of rain will continue to fall in northern Alabama, where 2 to 4 inches of rain is possible. And then look up here in Tennessee, Arkansas. And this is really what's happening right now. So this is the rain that will fall between now, what's already kind of fell over the last few hours, and then Friday morning. And then the Northeast, I would say, a good section of the rest of the country is pretty quiet. The Northeast, we're going to get those showers that drift into Maine this afternoon. But the rest of the Northeast is quiet. You guys' weather has been pretty good lately. You guys keep me updated on what you're seeing with the fall foliage too. Definitely keep me updated. But we're getting into tonight, so we're getting into tomorrow morning. And there ain't a whole lot to talk about up here. So sorry to leave you guys hanging so much in the Northeast lately. We'll be talking about you guys a lot here in the coming months with snow and winter on the way. But the south central U.S., there's Francine spinning away. We'll continue to get some rain in Arkansas, some back-end showers all the way into the Texarkana area, Louisiana. and the leftover Francine will basically quite literally ride right up the Mississippi River. And then eventually we'll get some scattered showers across. We'll continue to see showers across northeast Arkansas, the entire like southeast quadrant, if you will, Missouri, the Boot Hill, Missouri. We'll get some showers and heavy rain that might make it all the way into southern Illinois and then southern Indiana. And then we'll wake up tomorrow morning with this, the leftovers of Francine still kind of spinning around over Arkansas, but really in the process of continuing to weaken. The north central U.S., most of this area will be pretty quiet also this afternoon to this evening. Tonight, you can see Francine kind of coming up on the southern, well, the bottom edge of your screen, the southern side of your screen too. And then we get into tomorrow morning. Well, we're getting into the middle of the night. We got some showers drifting through North Dakota, but we take it all the way into tomorrow morning, and there's not a whole lot going on, guys. So pretty quiet up here too. Now, the northern plains, a little bit further west, different story. This low will continue to spin. The dynamics will be there for a classic late summer, early fall severe weather threat for eastern Montana especially. So we take it to about 1 to 2 p.m. Look at the snow falling in Yellowstone National Park and the Rockies of Wyoming and Montana. But check out these storms developing in central to eastern Montana. These storms could pack a punch, even a tornado risk, a damaging wind threat. I know most of the storm chasers were chasing Francine, so it's going to be hard for them to make it to Louisiana and to Montana in one day. But I tell you what, if you're a storm chaser, these might be some interesting storms to chase today in eastern Montana. They really could be. They could even try to make it into extreme western North Dakota. But if you live and you're tuning in from this area in eastern Montana, be aware of these storms. Damaging winds, large hail, and even a small tornado risk is possible. And they'll be moving through fast. Definitely will have some wind energy with them, and then they'll sweep on through. So be aware of that. Up here, the rest of the Rockies scooting a little bit further west. There's a lot of energy scooting across the northern Rockies. We'll have some pockets of heavy rain across Montana. Look at the snow kind of blending in with the green here a little bit. This tells us there's enough cold air there where snow is falling in some of the higher elevations of the Rockies in Montana and Idaho and, of course, Wyoming. So pretty wild stuff. Winter's definitely coming. We'll continue, as we get into this afternoon, this evening, we'll continue just to get a lot of activity across Montana, areas of Idaho, rain, higher elevation snow, maybe even some rumbles of thunder over this area. We'll just continue to get a big feed of moisture. So definitely much needed rain and snowfall between now and the next, pretty much now and Saturday evening. Several inches of snow is possible, way up in elevation. Of course, not really in these valley areas. I mean, we're still in early to mid-September. Definitely not there yet, but definitely a lot of snow way up in higher elevation. So between now and Saturday evening, this is how much moisture could fall. So, some of these areas could definitely use the rain. So this is good news. But of course, typically you got to deal with a lot of high winds when these systems drop down like that. So you got to deal with the fire danger with these too. The eastern U.S., it's warming up. The reason you're seeing this big blob of cooler temperatures is because of Francine, the cloud cover. If you're out of the influence of the cloud cover and the rain, you're going to warm pretty substantially. For example, look at Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, mid to upper 80s and even some areas hitting 90 degrees. Look at Kentucky, and then you dip down into, the deep south, and it's only in the 60s and 70s. So, even the southeast staying much cooler today compared to maybe areas to the north just because you got the cloud cover and some showers. Northeast, just 60s, 70s, even some low 80s depending on where you live. Pretty warm even all the way up into southern Ontario. But nobody's overly hot. Check out the big gradient out west. You got this area of low pressure digging down to the northern Rockies, is bringing its own cold air. So it's definitely cooler, even in the valleys of California. Pretty nice weather where it's only going to be into the 80s. Southwest, not too bad either. I would say the hottest weather in the entire U.S. is right across the high plains, from the southern high plains all the way up to the northern high plains. So that's all I got. Appreciate y'all tuning in. No evening video tonight, and honestly, just going to kind of take a back seat to the old evening videos. I don't see, really much use to making the evening videos right now. There's nothing substantial to really break down or talk about. So stay tuned. I'm going to do one of those personal videos probably here in the next couple of days where I just kind of talk to you guys and really speak to y'all, at a personal level, talk about what's been going on, what's coming up throughout the fall, as I do have a couple getaways that I have planned, one being in mid-October. where me and my 2 cousins are going to go out west somewhere, might go to Oklahoma. Heck, we might just go to the mountains. We just got some plans. I got a vacation coming up in late November that I'm really, really looking forward to. So just a couple things coming up that I won't be able to make a video in those days for, but just talking to you guys. So stay tuned for that. But that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Thank y'all for the growth to the channel. I appreciate y'all so much, and you have a wonderful day. God bless.